Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
The SCP multiverse is under constant assault, and destruction can come at any moment. Therefore, having just one database is a folly the Foundation can no longer accept. Join Dr. Kevin Milgram and SCP-073, Kane, as they create an oral history of the SCP Foundation, in Memories of Kane, an SCP story, hosted by Daniel Doremus. For should the Foundation fall, the unkillable first murderer of man will live on. New episodes drop every second Wednesday of the month on the Fearscape Media Network. Visit fearscapemedia.com for more information.
Fearscape Paranormal Podcast, part of the Fearscape Media Network. Prepare to be spooked. New episodes every Wednesday on all major podcast platforms. Find out more at fearscapepodcast.com. Coming to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown, your ghoulish hosts for an evening of terror, Stefan Gearhart and Lance Wayne, the Misters of the Dark.
Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to another terrifying episode of Misters of the Dark, the greatest horror podcast in the history of horror podcasting. As always, we're being directly to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown. I'm your co-mister, the man with no name, Lance Wayne. And you couldn't have arrived at a better time, for today marks the birth of my corner brother and your beloved headmister. Speak of the devil.
Lance, you didn't alert me to the arrival of our dear friends. I am your headmister, Lord Stefan Gearhart.
Apologies, Stefan. I was just doing some last-minute preparations for, well, you know.
For what?
You know, for today.
Tuesday.
No, your big day.
Lance, you know as well as I do that we already discussed this a few episodes back. The Love Witch isn't actually a person. She's just an actress, thus ending any chances of my becoming a domesticated mister.
To understand this reference, please pause the current episode of Misters of the Dark and listen to episode 12 of Misters of the Dark. Thank you. You moron! Don't tell me you have your head so far up your own ass that you would forget your own birthday!
What? My birthday?
Yes! Why the hell do you think there's streamers and balloons all around the dilapidated mansion, ass?
Oh, Lance, when you're one as celebrated as me, well, every day is like your birthday. Ba-boo, ba-boo, ba-boo.
Good Lord, you really have flew the coop.
You have a visitor.
Ooh, a visitor?
Yes, it was supposed to be another surprise. Dear friends, will you please help us in welcoming actor John Wells?
All right, thank you, John Wells, for coming out to the dilapidated mansion and spending your time with me and I guess Lance too.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you work at Chick-fil-A. I hear you there. My pleasure. Good for you. I know actors, we got to make our money somehow, right?
I have no idea what's going on.
You should not. Yeah, you're just an improviser. I'm an actor and an improviser.
Oh, geez.
Yep.
Someone thinks highly of themselves.
Well, John, we're super pumped, man, to have you on the show. You've We love all the stuff. You got a lot of really cool stuff. We're big nerds, so already just like the fan films that are already popping up, for you, things like that. I'm super pumped to see the Wonder Woman flick you got coming. Like that. That's what I want to see.
I shot that thing years ago, so I don't know whatever. I don't know
really?
if it's saw the light of day or not. Yeah.
Oh man,
I don't even care.
So it goes.
It's the same thing. It's like the Adrienne Palicki. She did that Wonder Woman pilot, and it never aired. And she's from my hometown of Toledo, Ohio. So I'm like, anything she does, I'm like supporting. And I'm mad because that's the second pilot she's had that went nowhere. Because they also had that Marvel's Most Wanted, where it was a spinoff of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Didn't go anywhere.
I know. I was bummed about that.
Man, she was great as Mockingbird. But yeah, she's my Toledo. She's my Toledo girl, so I got to support her. But you're my Louisville dude, because that's my second hometown, so I got to support you. So
well, I appreciate
it. Lance, he just has your posters hanging up in his room, and he just idolizes the hell.
Well, I was saying whenever we got you booked, I remember I was sitting there thinking, that name sounds so familiar. Because I remember you from your MSD days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. For those who don't know, I don't know how you would not know, but Mr. John Wells was in a really big Louisville band called MSD. And my
that
friend,
was lifetimes ago, yeah.
My friend, who is a total fanboy of you all, he asked me to name drop him. So there you go, Corey. Okay, I brought your name up to John Wells, you son of a bitch. Stop, I love you. Congratulations on the new house. Okay.
cheers to Corey.
Cheers to Corey, who has the body of a thoroughbred, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. No, that's really cool. So you got a musician background as well. I was actually unaware of that. So that's really, really cool.
That was a very, very long time ago, but yeah. That
very long time ago. Playing venues with Metro Shifter. Was dropping an old band. Letting you.
Yeah, I don't even.
That's from like the early 90s. Dropping some old band.
Wow.
Yep. That's what I was doing in high school in the 90s. So there's a good starting point there for us, John. It's like, we see, obviously had some great music experience. Now, how did you get into acting, of course? Which one came first, chicken or the egg there? And then how did you stick with the one?
Well, I've been a movie nerd since, I was for as long as I can remember. Growing up as a kid, I was, Star Wars and just a big Star Wars kid. And that was my escape, so I've always had a love for just movies and escapism. And then when I got in high school, I started doing the band thing and it kind of took off. But I've always had the love for movies, but pursuing acting never seemed really realistic to me growing up in Kentucky. It's like wanting to be an astronaut. It's just it's so far fetched. Yeah. It's not really. It just didn't seem obtainable until I fell in with some indie filmmakers. A guy actually approached me at the gym in the locker room of all places.
You gotta be careful about that, John.
Oh yeah, I know. Man, I'm like,
you're lucky you didn't. You're lucky you didn't end up like.
I get cornered in the locker room. This dude's like, "Hey man, you ever thought about being in a movie?"
Yeah. That could have been
super
terrible.
creepy vibe.
You could be a model.
Come over to my basement and have a screen test.
Are you into photography?
But I fell into these guys, and they're doing just some indie stuff, and I did screen test with them, and I just kind of from there I was like, wow, there's actually people making film in Kentucky. This is so cool. And it was just like all my childhood dreams kind of started to bubble up, and it's like, this is something I can actually try to do. And I jumped in head first, and it's kind of been my life ever since.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I didn't get approached in a locker room, but I mean,
I've been approached in many a locker room.
I did get approached. I mean, I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I originally went to school to be a music minister of all things. And now I'm now I'm murdering people.
Yeah.
But no,
your Lord, Stefan Gerhardt.
It was my roommate was just like, hey man, you should audition for this play. I think you'd be hilarious. And I was like, yeah, okay. I had done something like my freshman year of high school, but when I moved to Louisville, the high school had no drama program. I went to Dawes, had no drama program. And anyways, and then I ended up getting a role. He did not get a role, and I ended up being best man at his wedding, and I'm not sure how that happened. So, but yeah, I've been into acting ever since. That's also what led me into improv comedy, was through acting, getting into improv. So yeah. Lance, how'd you get in? Did someone approach you at the dumpster?
Well, actually. No, in all honesty, I'm kind of the anti-John, because I was in a band and my band went nowhere, and and I just kind of fell into the whole improv game.
You're welcome. I got receipts for your classes.
Yeah, you were there for all of it. You could probably write it down better than I could. I was drunk half the time.
So obviously, like I said, we love horror stuff, and there's definitely a number of horror stuff. And I noticed you've done some stuff with Al Snow, and he is no stranger to horror.
No.
Of course, especially in the Louisville scene. What are some of your favorite roles that you've gotten to do, or just the films you were in general that were horror?
I've done quite a bit of horror. My first feature film was a horror comedy action kind of genre bender, which was Overtime.
I remember
which I did with Al Snow. It's still one of my favorite. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite experiences I've had working on a film. It was such a blast, and the script was so ridiculous but clever. So that was, that one's always kind of near and dear to my heart, because it was sort of my first kind of big stepping stone into doing other stuff. Other horror side, I did Piranha Sharks,
nice.
which I did up in New York, which Al had a small part in that also. But that was a fun kind
everywhere.
I can't get rid of the guy. I really can't.
I can't get rid of his ex-wife. I've done like 3 things with Cindy Snow. I can't seem to take her loose, and I live in Arizona now. She showed up in my luggage.
Oh, Jesus.
Cindy's crazy, man. I love her.
There's going to be a lot of editing on this.
Nuh-uh, Cindy knows she's crazy. She knows she's crazy, man.
So I don't even know. Earlier this year, I wrapped on They See You, which is kind of a fun coming of age horror comedy.
Cool.
So I love doing the horror stuff, man. It's always a lot of fun.
I was just gonna say, it's horror is that kind of that they say it's the easy one, right? It's what most film directors will immediately jump into when they're trying to do film and things like that.
Yeah, it's an easy sell.
But those of us that know it, though, like, it's got to be done well for it to work well, right? And so, I would tell you, some of these indie horror films are pretty amazing. Like, man, some of them are better than the garbage that they put out there in the mainstream.
Well, I really enjoyed you in the Penny Dreadful show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're like the goth dork horror movie lover.
Are you talking about yourself, Lance?
I'm not a huge part in that. It's a supporting role, but that's still collectively one of, like, as far as enjoying watching the movie, that's one of my favorite movies that I've been a part of.
Well, Al, when we're talking about Al Snow, Al was great in that. That was like probably
everybody is in that, man. I mean, Sid Haig and Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, yeah. That's an awesome little like turn, like that whole little section of that film.
Really. I'm glad you guys saw it. That's one that it had pretty limited distribution. It had great distribution for a while, but I know the director has had a problem kind of getting that back out there. And
oh, really?
because there were some problems there, and he got the rights back to it, and there's been some behind the scenes stuff, struggling to kind of get that out again, but that's one I've always been really proud of, and I'm I just wish more people could lay eyes on it, because I think it's a really, really nicely done movie with a great ensemble cast.
And that is kind of the issue with it. It's like when you get to do these indie films, which I've done a number of them myself, it's like when you get to do them, they either never see the light of day, right? The director's like, here, 4 years later, I finally finished editing, guys. I just made you a Blu-ray. Here you go. Or it gets out there, like you said, it gets some decent distribution, then something crazy happens and you just lose access to it.
I'm not exactly sure what happened with it, but I know Lee, the director, Lee Scott, I know he had some frustrations with the initial distributor on it. Cause it went to like Walmart and Target and all that stuff at first, but I don't think it was out long. And then I think it got pulled out. I don't know, but I know Lee was pretty frustrated with it, and he did some self-distribution with it, but I always thought that movie deserved a better shake than what it got.
Yeah. Well, that was one I remember. I mean, I'm not trying to make this about me or anything, but I'm not trying to bring up Corey again, you bastard. But that was a film we like were anticipating the release of that film, and I remember he had a third shift job, and we were living in an apartment together at the time, and I remember he got home and he's like, "Dude, look what I got." We watched it like right when he got home, and I watched it a couple of times at Halloween.
Very cool. Yeah, I think it's a fun movie.
Good. Now, with COVID and everything last year, how did that work out for you? I mean, I know for us, we ran a improv school, Improv 502, and it shut down. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get to improvise for a year, and had very limited engagements. The only work I was able to get was voiceover work and stuff like that. So how was your last year for you?
It definitely, I had several projects, got yanked out from under me, obviously. I was able to stay relatively busy. I did a couple features last year. Did a boxing movie in Miami called The Tasmanian Devil. It's coming out later this year. Cool. Did another horror movie with Al in Virginia. And some short stuff, but it was a slow year. But this year is kind of, ever since January, I feel like everything's kind of production wise, everybody's getting things rolling. I've been pretty nonstop since January 1st. It's been
good, man. Good.
Yeah,
good.
I feel like we're making up for lost time at this point.
Glad to hear that, man. It's always good to see, because I feel like the arts got hit harder than any other industry, no matter what anybody wants to say. So many of my friends throughout the country that owned improv theaters, at least 90% of them are gone. Just regular theaters, those are gone.
Devastated the industry.
Musicians, everything, man. And so to hear people still able to hang on and still get work is just
This year's been really, really good so far. Really good. So fingers crossed it's going to keep rolling and keep snowballing and
Well, if not, hit the gym. Somebody will find you.
Yeah.
I need to get back to the.
I'm just gonna hang out in the locker room and just put my fingers crossed.
Hang out in a gymnasium after hours.
So somebody comes by, drop a mask so they can see your smile. Be like, hey, right? That's what I do. Cause
he's an actor, not a whore, Stefan.
Oh.
We all have our price.
Well, never mind.
In the words of Ted DiBiase.
Yeah. So you said you've always liked movies, and stuff like that, and horror movies as well, I'm sure.
Oh, very much, yeah.
What would you say probably your I don't like saying a number, but just your top couple of favorite horror movies? What inspired you? Like
favorite horror movies? Oh man.
No particular order, just a couple off the
just top of my head, some of my favorites. Exorcist, of course. Silence of the Lambs, if you want to consider that, that'd be up there.
The debate. It is.
So some people consider it more of a crime suspense thing, but it's horrific stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like saying Saw is a crime thriller.
Yeah. God, what else? I got to go with, the Evil Dead's and Army of Darkness. The Samurai.
Yeah.
It's so rewatchable and fun.
All of them. Did you ever watch the Ash versus the Evil Dead show?
Oh yeah.
God, what a brilliant show. And I'm mad it only lasted as long as it did. I needed way more.
So fun. Yeah, off the cuff, those are a few.
Those are great. You're in. You're welcome. Welcome to the club.
Well, thank you.
Your life is safe in our hands now.
Yeah. For better or for worse, you're one of us.
If you were like Halloween Town 2, we would have.
Hey, those Halloween Town movies aren't that bad.
I will turn your camera off and your audio off right now.
Oh, then lose half the listeners.
That's kind of true. They do listen to his milky voice.
Oh, it is a sweet tone coming through.
If only you were a good-looking brunette with boobies.
Sorry, I'm just blonde. Anyways, boy, we're
getting off track.
Yeah, we're high in life. John, man, you're exciting. You get us pumped up, man.
It's good energy.
It is good energy, man. We love our Louisville people. When we get a chance to talk to Louisville folks, it's always fun, because I don't know, we're a special breed of people, whether we were born there, whether we moved there or not. We're a special breed of folks, man. And
it's true.
And it's interesting because, you just like you said, growing up, like I moved there when I was 13. And so I consider Louisville my home, even though Toledo is my hometown. That's where my dad lives and things like that. Louisville's my hometown. And it's the same thing. Yeah, I never thought that I'd be able to do anything either. And it was that whole thing. I always wanted to be a singer and an actor and things like that. Because you think you'd be like, oh, who's famous is from Louisville. This is before Jennifer Lawrence, right? So you're like, KFC guy, right? No, he's from Corbin.
Yeah.
He's from Corbin.
Muhammad Ali?
He's not an actor. I can name... and then you're like, oh, well, Tom Cruise lived here for like 5 seconds, right? That counts.
Yeah.
You're like, does it though?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is from another planet.
And so here's my hope for you, John. I hope that in 10, 15 years, kids are saying, you know what? If John can make it, so can I. So that the boys have somebody, because it ain't gonna be me. So the boys have somebody, because the girls already got Jennifer Lawrence. So that we need us a guy that's not freaking Ned Beatty. Okay. All right. Yes.
What's wrong with Ned Beatty, you bastard? Ned Beatty is a fine actor. He was in Superman.
I love Ned Beatty. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying the kids don't know who the hell Ned Beatty is. They don't even know who Warren Beatty is.
Well, everybody should know Ned Beatty.
I agree. Well, then you say Deliverance. You say, oh, the fat guy that squealed like a pig. And they're like, fat guy. Fat guy. That's not the heritage that you want for Louisville, to be like, oh, the guy that squealed like a pig in Deliverance. Yeah.
I think of Superman and Dan Connor's father from Roseanne. Who do you think of, John?
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Otis is who I will always think of. I do love Ned Beatty, but the thing is like, I don't even think that man, Ned Beatty doesn't even have a sign on one of the buildings, does he?
No.
I don't know.
Why does Ned Beatty not have one? Now I'm thinking about it. There's some chick rowing a boat off 65. And I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Give me Ned Beatty up there. And then we need John Wells up there, man, on the PNC building. There you go. Covering up people's office windows.
Yeah. We need an attractive person on one of these buildings.
Somebody's going to have their desk right at your nose hole, like right on the other side. That's
lucky bastard.
That's how Louisvillians like to live, man. That's how we absolutely like to live. So
aren't you glad you booked this interview? Diane Sawyer, eat your heart out. Right?
That's what happens when you get two comedians that live in a dilapidated mansion. We just don't know how to live. So we live vicariously through you, John.
I hope it's good for you.
So far, it's been amazing. So as an actor, we all have our dream directors that we'd want to work with, and you can choose even one. Let's say dream director that's alive and dream director that's dead that you'd want to work with.
Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, hell yeah!
Oh, nice. Good wow.
Yeah,
Good choice.
Easily, yeah, he's alive or dead. He's my number one.
Phew, man. So many projects that man didn't get to do that I want to see. Invisible, or what was the Frankenstein one he was supposed to do? Going to be amazing based off the art of that one guy that I can't remember either. And then his Mountains of Madness. I wanted to see.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. Man, see, now you make me.
He makes masterpiece after masterpiece. He's
masterpiece. Though I'll tell you what, man, it's hard watching Kronos because it's a messed up movie, man. Like,
well, yeah.
I've tried to sit down and watch it like 3 times, but it deals with subject matter that I don't like. So
it's heavy. It's very, very weighty stuff.
It's gross. It's gross. It's like a Cronin. It's like he was like, hey. I can do a Spanish version of Cronenberg, can I? Yeah, all right. I'll do Kronos. I'll name that in honor of him. It's good though, but yeah, no, good answer, man. I love Guillermo.
Yeah. I never really dug. What was it, Crimson Peak? That one kind of left me a little.
I loved it. I loved it.
Really?
I thought it was a beautiful Gothic romance. I think it was marketed incorrectly. Not
exactly what I was gonna say,
but it's a beautiful Gothic romance.
Yeah, I mean, I do visually. I mean, it's a Guillermo del Toro film, so visually, you're gonna be satisfied.
Every frame is stunning.
It's just the story left me a little.
Well, it's because you just like John said, it's like it was marketed to be this turn of the screw, which it was not. And, it was marketed to be this scary horror movie, and that's the backdrop. That's the backdrop of the movie. Yeah. And I went into it thinking that it was going to be this scary thing. It was hard. And it was until the second watching when I knew what I was getting myself into. So my expectations were different, that I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. But yeah, 100% agree. It's just marketed. Same thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I mean, another perfect example is Event Horizon. How they tried to market that as a like a sci-fi, almost like a Star Trek type thing, and you get in there and you're like, "What the hell?"
If you were going in to see Star Trek, you left shitting your pants.
I'm telling you, dude. We went and saw it because I thought it was just going to be like a sci-fi movie. I was just like my high school or whatever. We went to the drive-in when Kenwood was still around. We went to the Kenwood drive-in and we saw that and Mimic. Okay, and this was the second. This was the second movie was Event Horizon. So you had to watch Mimic first because Mimic was making more money because they did not market Event Horizon correctly. They had done it as a sci-fi horror and really pushed the horror. I think people would have went in droves because it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Oh man, it's so good. It's so good.
Like, man, what a crazy and apparently it's
almost Lovecraftian. I mean,
it's very Lovecraftian in space. Yeah, it's like Aliens meets Lovecraft. And it's like there's apparently talk that there's like an extended director's cut that they've been slowly working on for a while that I'd like to see that gets even more into that kind of Lovecraftian.
Those actually, I was just watching something the other day that said that it'll never happen because those prints got destroyed in some kind of fire. And they were in where they were held, and of all places, it was Transylvania. Because they store film in like salt mines. Have y'all ever heard of that? They store film in like salt mines. Yeah, it was a salt mine in Transylvania.
But I've heard someone talk about that.
The only time I've ever seen film stored is when they filmed the Warner Brothers lot where they had Yakko, Wacko, and Dot hidden.
Oh God,
hidden away. And then they opened up the film case and they got out, right? That's a documentary, right? Stop looking at me, Dad. Jeez.
I failed as a father.
God, could you imagine if you were my dad? That'd be weird. Especially because you're younger.
Anyway, John.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you have anything coming up? I know you said you just got done wrapping something up, but anything else on board?
Yeah, I'm next month, and this is I haven't really talked about this yet, but I'm starting a big feature out in Las Vegas called Arena Wars, which is it's a sci-fi action with some horror elements to it.
Cool.
Kind of, it's similar to The Running Man with some Death Race and RoboCop kind of.
Oh, nice.
Vibes. Yeah.
Yes.
Really cool. Really cool sci-fi action thing.
I mean, you had us at Arena War, but you extra had us with everything else. You can't go wrong with that. So man, so you're getting to travel out there and do stuff too, and it's a really fun one. Brandon Slagle is the writer director. He did Attack of the Unknown, and then that's the Mahal Empire Productions. So the Mahal brothers have been doing a lot of cool stuff. So really excited to work with those cats on this because it's the premise is great and it's a really cool role, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Now, one thing I know is like you've been doing this a while, right? And so now do you ever feel that pressure where you're like, shit, now people expect shit out of me? You know what I mean? It's like, because you got, as an actor, or even in improv, it's the same thing. It's like, you almost get held accountable for your own talent, right? Do you ever get nervous like that where you're like doing something a little bigger than usual and you're like,
yeah, I try to go into everything, with the mindset of I need to bring it. And I try to treat everything that I do like it's the most important thing I've ever done, because you never know what is actually going to hit and what's not. You don't know how good something's going to be until it drops. I'm just there doing my part. I don't know what it looks like on camera, So I treat everything with as much respect as I do, the big stuff, and the little stuff. But yeah, you certainly, especially when it's, when you have somewhat of a reputation and a body of work, and when you're actually approached for a part, and then we've heard all these good things about you. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I need to,
live up to that.
yeah. So you can't drop the ball.
The flip side then comes to when you have been in it for a while and you do have a good reputation, then you're like, yeah, but I haven't heard anything about you, right? And so you get nervous, right? Because I've had to deal with this. It's like when I did it for a long time, different theaters or different things like that would want me to come in and do different stuff. And it's like, I had to go do some research sometimes too, because it's like, you also don't want to slap, it sounds crazy that we're, Louisville people, but it's like, you don't want to slap your name on something just because either, right?
Oh, certainly.
That's when you've been doing acting for a long time. That's kind of that point where you get where it's like, you can't just take every acting gig out there, because you're hungry for it. It's like, you have
to be selective. When you're first starting off and cutting your teeth and trying to build a body of work, that's one thing. When you first start off, you got to take a couple free gigs. You got to do some student film just to get stuff under your belt. But at a certain point, you're your own product, and your body of work is what dictates your value and your worth. And when you do as much as I do, and it's how you pay the bills, that's an important thing. So you have to be selective to a degree and weigh the pros and the cons of each thing. So yeah, anytime I book with anybody, if it's somebody that I don't know personally, I'm Googling them. I'm looking to see what their work looks like, what they've done recently, what their reputation is, how legit they are, if their stuff gets distribution. I always try to do my homework on everybody that I work with.
Yep. It's a hard place to be, but it's a good one, John.
I'm fortunate to be where I am.
Yeah, for sure. Do you do any stage acting at all, or are you strictly film and TV?
I'm strictly film, man. I wish I had the time to commit to theater, but just you know how it is, man.
I do.
And everything. I can't stick myself to a single project for that long.
Dude, I'll tell you, man. Like,
I wish I could. I'd love to do it, but
doing improv for 20 years, like now when I get a script, I sweat. Like, I'm just like, I'm first question I ask, like if I do any film or anything, is I'm like, how nailed down to the script are you? You know, but with film, they usually want a little improv. You can usually move around the script because they're trying to find good shots, good feels. But with, with theater, boy, them directors are usually like, and it's tough. You're right, because you're spending weeks in rehearsal and then a lot of times weeks in performance as well. To a lot of times get paid the same amount you would to do a single shoot somewhere. So
well, and to go back into the band thing, I once heard a quote from David Johansen that said, any singer, David Johansen, lead singer of New York Dolls, he said any lead singer worth their salt has some acting abilities, because you're so I mean I honestly consider being a musician stage work, because you're up there,
it's performance art for sure.
You're being an extent, at least for me, when I was performing, I was myself turned up to 11.
And you have to be in a certain headspace for it.
So and I'm I still, with improv, I still tend to use certain moves and things
me too.
I used on the stage.
You dove into a number of audiences.
I have.
In improv. But Lance, no, he's got a face for radio. You know what I mean?
Oh wow, that oldie but a goodie.
Classic. It's a classic move. No, but I love that too, man. And a lot of times like I said too, with film and TV, because you're doing scenes, you get to spend less time on your lines and more time on the this is going to sound really pretentious, but the actual work of the character, the work of the set. You know what I mean? That is one thing I definitely like, and I love that. I mean, I do it all: stage, film, TV. I love it all, but each one has its specialties for me. And that is the one thing with film. It's like, you get to take this moment. It's like, hey, we're going to work on this minute-long scene. And you get to dive into that sucker like you don't ever get to do on stage, because you've got this whole 2 hours you've got to do. And that's why I respect those people that do those single shot movies. I'm like, how the hell do you guys
I know
that? Because it's like, if you mess up, we got to start all the way over.
I just last thing I just wrapped on was a short film that was all single shot. It's called Infinity. It's the whole thing. It's I think it's it's a short, but it's like 6 or 7 minutes long, of multiple kind of scenes kind of moving through, but it's all one take, one shot, no cutaways.
There's something incredible about, what was that movie, Lance, with Jennifer Lawrence, or not Jennifer Lawrence, sorry, Elizabeth Olsen, that she did, the horror film that was all single shot, something House.
I do not remember.
It's a remake of I believe a Spanish film. This is like one of her first movies that she did. It's excellent. It's one of the best single shot films I've ever seen, and it's horror. I'm gonna have to look it up here.
Very cool.
I just think of her. The first thing I ever saw her in was the 2014 Godzilla. So.
Really? Oh, dude, she was around way before that. I mean, her sisters are Mary Kate and Ashley.
Well, I know.
Olsen, in case you did not know, sir. Let me see here. If I
wonder what they're up to.
Silent House here. So it's called Silent House. It was actually her second movie she ever did. Technically her first one, because she did one in 1994, a TV movie. I think she was just in one of her sister's movies. So it would have been her first real movie. If you have not seen it, I recommend it to both of you guys. Silent House.
Very cool.
It's a single shot film, and it's horror, and it is, God, it stressed me out. That's how good it was, because you're single shot. And then, of course, as an actor and producer and things like that, I'm sitting there like thinking like, God, how did they get all this ready? How did that guy run up here, go up there? Because since it's single shot, they had to film legit in a house, not in a studio. You know what I mean? So they're like legit in this house.
Everything has to jump. I mean, everybody has to hit their light, hit their mark perfectly.
Everything.
The camera guy's got to be exact right. I mean, it's a very precise dance that everybody just has to nail.
It would drive me crazy.
Yeah, dude, I'm just doing that. that 6-7 minute short. I mean, just
Oh,
that.
that would drive me bonkers.
Right. And of course, I'm trying to see how long this sucker was, but I don't see it anywhere. But yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I just can't imagine that. And then especially, let's say it's an hour and a half, hour 45, and then like you said, it's like that you've got to rehearse like a play, right? So like
You have to.
doing tons of rehearsals. And then you just like said, if you miss one spot, dude, the whole thing starts over. And if it's like right at the end, God, I can't imagine. But that's cool. I'm gonna have to check out that short you've got there because I love single shot stuff. Even though I know 1917, it's technically a single shot, but I know that it wasn't really a single shot. That was one of the ones where they flubbed it a lot. And you can always tell when they go into the dark somewhere. You're like, oh, they added it. Stuff like that. But even that was done really well. I mean, you've got long sections, 20, 30 minutes long that are indeed a single shot. And it's fascinating. So kudos to you, man. I have never done anything like that in terms of film. So you, sir, got my respect there.
Thanks, man. Really, I mean, the camera crew, I mean, they're the guys who really get the applause on that stuff.
Oh no, those guys are running backwards and they're all over the place, man.
Just to light a scene like that
can't even. We did when I was in college. We did a fully improvised movie. So we did a show, and then we got suggestions from the audience for the film. The only thing we knew we were going to do was that we knew it was going to be a detective film. So we kind of had some locations squared away. We kind of had an idea maybe of what the scenes might be and things like that, but all the names and like all the meat, everything was done. And we told them we were going to do this in 24 hours and have it edited and ready to watch the next night. So it was a 24-hour improvised movie. So we partnered with the film, bunch of film students, because one of our guys on our team was a film student. So he got his crew and they did it for like their big end project or whatever. And it was incredible. I was tired as hell, but we did, because I was the detective. I pulled the straw for the detective and had to improvise that whole thing, man. And like, we're rooting through, like, we got access to our theater department's costume scene. So we're like, shit, find something that Stefan will fit in. Cause I was a big dude back then too. So they're like, find something. He needs to look like a detective and stuff we didn't think about. And, and we had to try to take things. Well, and then we're improvising. So we're dying laughing and we're tired. It's like 6 a.m, trying to hit those last couple scenes and good times, man. God, there ain't nothing like,
it's gotta be a great memory though.
Nothing like acting, man. There's just, for people that don't do it, boy, you're missing out on something, and that's why I always tell people, take an acting class, take an improv class, just try it for once. Even if you're scared, just try it. Cause there's nothing like pretending to be somebody else. There's just something about it, man. That's why my dad does not trust me. Like, legit. He says, how can I believe anything that comes out of your mouth? You're an actor and an improviser. And I'm like,
and an asshole.
And an asshole. That is, he would say that too. Oh man. So another thing like we talked about, I did want to talk about was Star Wars Hand of the Empire, because we brought up Star Wars. And I love fan films. And out of all the fan films that exist out there, Star Wars fan films are probably some of the best out there. And like this Hand of the Empire is such a cool, and you got to play Kanan, which is a really cool character that I already like. And Mara Jade these are all these great characters from the old Legend series and stuff like that I love. Like, please talk to me about your experience to get to be in a Star Wars film, even if it's not a big Hollywood one. Who cares?
Oh, dude, it was a blast. It was so much fun. That's my childhood fan. I got to swing a lightsaber and kill stormtroopers. It was so much fun. But yeah, we got to work right alongside with the 501st Legion. So we had a scene.
Oh, cool.
We had like 15 to 20 stormtroopers on screen at one time. Don West, he's kind of our 501st buddy. He's a big prop builder and makes large scale props. So we had 2 speeder bikes. We had a 2-legged, ATST walker. We had a whole like Endor bunker type thing.
And
the production value was so cool.
That Louisville 501st is one of my favorites. Every time I've seen them at conventions, I love, because my veterinarian that I used to have before I moved out here was in a 501st, but up in Indiana, because I lived in Clarksville for a while. So he was in that group, but he knew everybody in the Louisville one. And so all my pets are named after Star Wars. So we had Chewie, we've got Kenobi, Leia, Kylo. I want to get a fish or a turtle and name it Admiral Akbar. Like that. So of course this dude was lit when we came into his office. He was like, I'm in the 501st. But no, there are two fandoms out there, in my opinion, that just do the best fandom stuff, and that's the 501st crew and oh boy, my brain just stopped. 501st. Oh, and the Ghostbusters guys. Those two things, between those two, like, they do the most amazing work and create the best props, and they're always donating to charities and organizations out there more than any of the other groups that I see at cons and stuff like that.
They really do a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff.
Love the 501st. So cool that they let you guys use all that stuff. And just getting to play Kanan was really cool because, so he's a great character, man, especially now they're looking into digging even more into the lore and history of that character. How's that for you? Because at that point, there was a good amount of...
It's exciting, man. It was really exciting. To my knowledge, I'm still the only person who's ever played a live action. I
was about to ask. Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah. So to me, that's a really cool thing. Kanan's such a cool character, because, I mean, he's kind of that he's the Jedi. They kind of went rogue, and he's kind of went kind of space pirate.
Yeah, he was just a Padawan.
Kind of an edgier, he's an edgier kind of Jedi, and he's just got a cool backstory and just a cool vibe to him. But yeah, dude, it's just being there and finally putting on the armor piece, and of course I had the ponytail then, and I just remember the first day on set and getting my lightsaber. It was just like, it's just like the coolest, nerdiest day of my life. And then Nathan, he was our writer director, Nathan Milliner. We're walking back for very first shoot, very first scene, and he and I are just kind of walking side by side. The stormtroopers are in front of us, probably about 30, 40 feet up, just walking. We're just watching the stormtroopers walking. And we just kind of look at each other and start giggling. Like girls.
That's exactly what I would do.
Stormtroopers, we're making Star Wars. It was just so really fun.
That's exactly what we would do too, man. And Freddie Prinze Jr. is jealous of you. That's all I'm saying.
Good.
He's like, well, I could have played it. I was married to Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah. He's writing for WWE now, isn't he? Last time I heard, he was like part of the creative team.
I had no idea. Good for him, man. He kind of after the Scooby-Doo movies, he kind of dropped, and then like all of a sudden, I was like, that voice sounds familiar, and I realized that was Freddie, and he's doing that too. Good for him. Good for him.
Good on him.
Good on you, Freddie Prinze. Good on you, sir. Good on you, sir. All right. So, of course, I've got to ask. So, we also like to ask who your favorite horror villains are. We usually say your three of the ones that are either your favorite or scare you the most. Not the movies, but just the characters themselves.
I'm gonna go classic, and Dracula.
Nice.
Yeah, Dracula. I love Lugosi, but Gary Oldman is my dude, man.
God, can't argue with that.
He's so creepy, dude. Like, it's such a different creepy. Like,
so freaking good in that movie, and that's still one of my that's another one of my favorite horror films. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Dracula, and it's his performance in it is just so powerhouse. I can watch it over and over again just to watch the nuances of his performance.
People have no idea how amazing Gary Oldman is. Like, they don't realize it. Like, one of my favorite Gary Oldman movies, not even a Gary Oldman movie, but he's in it, is True Romance. Have you ever seen True Romance? Anybody?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Where he's the drug dealer.
Where he's the drug dealer, and he's like the most like ghetto dude. He's got dreadlocks, and you're like,
yeah,
yes.
That's Gary Oldman.
He's phenomenal. And he's got the dreadlocks and the grill. He's just,
dude, it's just like he can play anything. Anything. Like, he is so amazing. And yeah, his Dracula, like, I'm still thinking about his Dracula. It's giving me goosebumps because it was like,
it's so multifaceted. What he does with it. It's so many dimensions and
so many
levels
dimensions.
Of players, and
creepy and scary. Whereas the rest of them, it's like, yeah, you're scared, but you're turned on at the same time, right? With Gary's, you're like, why are there worms all over me and I want to have sex and die? I don't get it, because it's like so weird. It's like a completely God, he just, man, when he's old Dracula in the beginning,
he's legitimately, he's scary. I mean, he really is scary.
Draculas have a right to be proud.
He feels
my favorite line.
Legitimate threat. He's I mean, I love Lugosi. You got to love Lugosi. I mean, he was such an original, but he's almost too charming, to really be terrifying.
Well, the beauty is that
plays it from so many different levels.
Right. Well, Oldman had so many things he could pay homage to, whereas Lugosi really didn't, right? He just had Shrek. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. I love his old stuff because it's very Max Shrek. It's very Nosferatu, right? And then he gets in later. You see hints of Lugosi. You see hints of Christopher Lee. You see hints of all this other, he's just... but I still think that even if he didn't have those homages, if he had played it instead of Lugosi back then, I still think it would have been absolutely phenomenal. Like, even back then.
For my money, I think Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is my favorite actor. He's in my
top for sure.
Yeah.
I have never disliked
easily
anything.
My top three. He's one of my acting heroes that I always kind of look to.
It's just so crazy. He was Commissioner Gordon. I mean, that was just how versatile he is.
I mean, dude, you look at him in Fifth Element. I mean, he's such a radical. I mean, the cliche. The cliche would be called the chameleon, but that's just he is. He's just he blends in and just morphs into these characters that are so different but so organic and believable. It doesn't feel like he's just trying to play a character to play a character. These radical individual characters that he plays feel very natural where they are. He doesn't do it just to show off his acting ability. He does it because it's what serves the scene and serves the film best.
And you wouldn't know it by looking at him. I mean, he looks like such an average Joe. He's not a Jared Leto, right? Who definitely digs into a role a little too much. But if that works for him, but Oldman's not a method actor. And I mean, it's like the performances he puts out there, I mean, are just, and like I said, he just looks like your average Joe. You'd have no idea that he was essentially a Lon Chaney.
And then the Darkest Hour, where he plays Church. I mean, just unrecognizable. It's
unrecognizable. 100%.
And it's not even, of course he's under a lot of makeup, but just the performance and again, just the nuances of what he does and the tones of his voice, it's just phenomenal how
now I need him and Guillermo del Toro to get working, right?
Has he been in a del Toro film?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh gosh. I want to, man. Yeah.
He could have been, because they were talking about doing Justice League Dark, remember, for a while, and Del Toro was supposed to do that. Was going to have Swamp Thing and John Constantine, and they were going to have Batman show up, and there was talk of having Commissioner Gordon show up, who at that time had not been cast yet in the new set, so they were talking about having him play it again. You know how that shit gets thrown out there.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I would have loved that, but I want more than that. Speaking of makeup there, have you had an opportunity to do a lot of makeup work at all, or are you mostly a face?
I have, I did a movie that's still in post-production called Tales from the Blood Fairies, which
sounds awesome.
It's dark horror takes on classic fairy tales.
Nice.
I played the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, cool.
I was under very, very heavy makeup on that, and that was a blast. It was stressful because it was about 5 hours worth of makeup getting in and about 5 hours getting out. But it was, man, it was just a really, really cool experience.
I know, you think about those guys that did TV shows, you know what I mean, where they were in heavy makeup and had to do that shit like every day. Yeah. Watching the Deep Space Nine, the Star Trek Deep Space Nine documentary that just came out recently. And the guy that played Odo, the French guy, whatever his name is, he was talking about how miserable it was because he was that shapeshifter, but his face was just it was featureless essentially. So I mean, he looked like he was molded into it. So he had full face makeup on every single day for every shoot for what they have, like 6 seasons. Like, God, I can't imagine. He was just like, I just wanted to hang myself some days, or some of those guys that have that full where like they have to put a straw because it's like such heavy makeup, like if they're a side character or something like that, man, and they don't even get to talk to people. They're just hot, especially if it's out in LA. Like,
think about the dude who played Worf.
I know. What
God.
He just had ridges. I mean, at least it's just ridges there. You know what I mean? It's like, can't imagine, man. Like, I think about the what's the guy's name from Hocus Pocus that had his mouth sewed shut through like.
That's Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. I wanted Doug Jones. I was going to say Doug Bradley.
Speaking, well, Doug Bradley's awesome. He had makeup too. But yeah, Doug Jones. Speaking of Guillermo del Toro, right? Yeah, Doug Jones. Like, just him talking about the makeup stuff he's had to do. He came to so one of my best friends. One of my best friends is a professor down at Somerset Community College and a librarian there. And Doug Jones came down there for a lecture series, and he talked about, he said, I must be crazy and I must love being uncomfortable. I mean, just the new Star Trek, him as Saru. Full body makeup every day.
Intense.
At least it's not like the old days where it's like 26 episodes, like every season. Now they're like, oh, it's 10. We're good. Oh, man. Well, John, I don't want to keep you. But I am enjoying the hell out of this. I could shoot shit and talk movies with you for hours and hours and hours and hours, man. You
can do it another time, man.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come back, man.
Yes, please.
What an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for letting us just shoot the shit and have a good time.
Oh, thank you, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anywhere besides, of course, IMDb that people can figure out where your stuff is? Do you have your own website or anything like that?
On Facebook, Instagram, all your basic social media stuff. You can look me up under John Wells or John Scott Wells. You'll find me.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we'll be trying to share some of the stuff that we can get out there and share for you, because the stuff we've seen has been phenomenal, man. You, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Like I said, I can't wait to be like, I got to interview that guy, and Louisville kids being like, I want to be John Wells, because
I appreciate you guys very much.
And with that, dear friends, we come to the end of another delightfully disturbing episode of Misters of the Dark. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you to the Fearscape Media Network. And thank you to Corey Addons and Ashley Jones Addons from Nothing Wrong for our musical theme. Thanks is also in order for you, John Wells. Yes, drive safely. Yes, I'm sorry he's an idiot. Yes.
Oh, geez, Lance. I feel awful about ruining your party plans.
No, Stefan. Living with you has taught me how to deal with disappointment.
Ooh, another visitor. Oh, maybe John forgot his autographed picture.
Woo-hoo! I'm Frederica Krueger. I heard there's a bad little mister running around this mansion, and he's in need of some medicine.
Wow, Lance, you really did go all out. I mean, a stripper slasher for my birthday?
Oh, no. Stefan, cheese for me. Needed something to distract me from the sad and abysmal void that is my life. Come on, Frederica.
Oh, yeah! I'm gonna split you in two. You better be ready for Freddy!
Yes, Frederica, that sounds lovely.
Sure, thanks, Dick. Anyways, before we go, dear friends, I will leave you with this. The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. Good night.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.